Well, the holidays are here, and I'm not sure I'm ready. How about you? Have you realized how fast this past year has gone? It's crazy, isn't it? But it's fun because everybody seems to be talking about it. Everybody seems to be getting excited about it. And, there's a good reason. We've got a lot of positive things that are starting to happen. But today's show is going to be focused on how well are you preparing for all of the celebrations and all the festivities, because I have to remind you, you have a lot of responsibility, and you have to be aware of the liability that your plans could be placing on the company. So I thought we'd go through a list today and actually talk about some of the things you need to be considering. In fact, if you haven't solidified your plans for your holiday parties yet, this is a good list to really go back over. And if you have solidified, if you have made all your arrangements, just still consider some of these and think about what changes you might need to make before the actual party. So number one is consider an offsite venue. I know a lot of you might have some beautiful facilities. You might have wonderful conference rooms or auditoriums, but offsite's really preferable. You don't want certain festivities or activities to be considered a part of the workplace. So, a restaurant, even a bar, with some place where they can have fun and be themselves, but something that's professional. You definitely want to maintain some kind of level of professionalism. But number two, make sure it's a safe place. It's crazy, but we actually used a country club here a couple years ago with one of my clients, and we had not had any workplace accidents for like 12 years. And sure enough, just as we were ending up the party and everybody was starting to carry everything back to vehicles, one of our directors tripped and fell in the parking lot in a pothole and really messed up his wrist. And this can happen anywhere, but be conscious. Make sure that there aren't real obvious safety concerns. Make sure that it's accessible. Make sure that you can get someone maybe with disabilities in and around the facility. Make sure that it's open enough that they can enjoy everything that's going on versus only being limited to just a certain space because of just the physical aspects of the facility. And number three is, what about your liability insurance? And what's interesting is I have talked to a number of clients and have asked them, well, what does your liability insurance say about having 1099s in your company? What does your liability insurance say about having people drive on behalf of the company that really we haven't checked on? Your liability insurance carries a tremendous amount of weight in your decisions. And if you're not considering them, start thinking about that, because if you don't have coverage for someone to be injured when alcohol's been served, or if you don't have coverage for certain activities like axe throwing, or I don't know, I've seen organizations go to those smash rooms and people can get hurt in there. You don't want to find out till afterwards. And workers' comp obviously is not going to be covering something that's a voluntary event. So make friends with your liability insurance carrier. Find out what they think. Let's go back to one of the things I just said. Let's make sure, as number 4, that attendance is optional. You want to be very, very careful making these kind of events mandatory. And for a number of reasons, you just want to remember people have certain religious beliefs, they have certain cultural beliefs, and this year Hanukkah is not even going to be celebrated till the 25th, and very few people know that that's a serious consideration. Everyone's focused on Christmas and the Nativity, and we still have a large population here in the United States who are atheist. They may not want to participate in what you're doing. So make it voluntary and open for their decision, and don't allow any retaliation or ill feelings for those who don't want to participate. All right, how about alcohol? Let's just get right down to the real important topic, and that's do we or do we not? And you guys know, you've been through this. You know that that's a huge risk. So even if you're traditionally offering alcohol, you might want to consider, if you aren't doing it, having professional bartenders there. Use drink tickets. Please do not do an open bar all evening. Please do not. There will be someone, probably the most unlikely person you're expecting, but somebody's going to not be able to handle that for whatever reason. So if you're going to offer alcohol, make sure that you have individuals there who can be a liaison, a neutral party who's not drinking, to make sure that people are going to be doing it responsibly. And then let's caveat down from there. How about transportation? You do need to think about the transportation. Is this something you're all going to take a bus or a party bus to? Are you going to expect each individual to find their own? Are they going to use public transportation? It's important to take that into consideration, because if everybody's driving their own vehicles, you're off-site, you're serving alcohol, who's going to make sure that the people leaving to go home they're capable of driving? They're not intoxicated. We also want to make sure that the facilities you're using have ample parking, so that we don't have young women or individuals walking down unsafe streets or in precarious places at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. We have to think this stuff through. So make sure that transportation's a part of your conversation. Then also make sure that you're giving that out to the individuals who don't feel good. We know that COVID is not a topic anymore, but we still have flu. We still have all these viruses. If people don't feel good, no pressure. Don't come. Don't feel the need to participate. But what about the ones who do? I haven't talked a lot about this, but I do think it has to be mentioned at the time when we're talking about parties and all this stuff. But how many times do you guys take pictures of your participants of these events? Maybe it's a 5K, maybe it's you're volunteering for a nonprofit, but you're taking pictures and you're posting them on your social media. This is a time, again, when we're talking alcohol, when we're talking parties, when we're talking, people feeling a little silly, when you might really want to think about asking permission before posting photographs or comments or activities that might put somebody in a compromising position. People still, they are your employees, but because this is a voluntary event, they have the right to decide and protect their privacy. Maybe they don't want somebody to know that they came to your party and had a cocktail. Maybe they don't want somebody to know that they came to your party in an ugly Christmas sweater. Just consider, if you're going to take pictures, even if you're going to just post them up in the employee lounge, if you're going to identify someone and tie them to either a photograph or a saying or an activity or something, it's always better to ask permission. Make sure that we're not stepping on any toes or compromising anyone. Then we also have to remember company policies. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because, again, let's think about the event, let's think about the activities, but how many times are we reminding employees that, we're going to probably act a little silly and we're probably going to go outside of our titles and our line of authority. But keep in mind, our actions can still be interpreted differently than how they were intended. And what I mean by that is somebody could find themselves feeling harassed or maybe bullied. Maybe they feel like they're being picked on. And again, you can't escape the fact that even though it's a voluntary event, these are your employees, and the business is still somewhat tied to it from that perspective. So please remind your employees, if you don't feel comfortable doing something, don't. If you don't feel comfortable being around that person because they've been drinking a lot, please don't. Don't feel pressured by who they are in terms of their position in the company to participate or go along with or condone what they're doing if you're feeling uncomfortable. If it doesn't agree with your standards or your principles or your belief systems, give the employees the out. In fact, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have just a very quick meeting to say, hey guys, remember, we're all adults. We should act like adults. And you're also professionals. So though we might be acting a little bit outside our character, our work character, we're still professionals and adults. And if anyone feels like they have some concerns, here's our complaint process. Here's what we want to hear or what we want to know, or we obviously want to know everything, but here's our policy. Definitely, if there's a chance that somebody's going to get a little rowdy or someone's going to get a little mouthy and possibly start saying things that they've been suppressing at work, and alcohol tends to remove all of those inhibitions. Let's keep everybody mindful that if they're not comfortable, they can remove themselves and follow the harassment policy. But the most important point I want to make in all of this is make sure that you're making all of your events and your festivities all inclusive. Give that individual who may not believe in necessarily the prominence of the holidays, give them the opportunity to at least come and party. Come and have fun. Sit down and play some games with us. Sit down and just have a great dinner with us. Sit down and just be. And know that we want you here because you're a part of our team. We have to be really, really careful that we don't shut certain parts of our communities out. When you're at work, you want to be all-inclusive. Well, when you're playing and having fun, you should be all-inclusive. And when you're not, that's when you get into trouble and can be sued. So guys, think about what I just said. Have a wonderful holiday season, but stay safe. Keep your employees safe and come back next year to the human resource.